What you see in front of you is the Next Generation Science Standards website. In the state of California, you can go to the California Department of Education and review the Next Generation Science Standards because we in California added other standards to outline our state standards for science. I want to show you this perspective because the Next Generation Science Standards website is very interactive. I want to use this website, the standards and the disciplinary core ideas, the SMPs and the cross-cutting concepts, these right here, to help you see the state standards and to use them. And yes, of course, ChatGPT. If you're an educator, principal, teacher, student support in the classroom, student, maybe even a family member, and you want to help support a child or a student in the area of science, this should help you. Because sometimes if you're a family member or even a teacher and you're a multiple subjects teacher and you want to get a scope on what students are learning, ChatGPT can break down a standard that is a little bit easier or in layman's terms so that you can understand the concept, so that you can help your students understand the concept. So let's dive into this, have a little fun with the California state standards and by using the Next Generation Science Standards. Let's start from this part of the website. This is the main page of the Next Generation Science Standards. I'm going to select search because I actually like to bypass this page because I believe this next page is a little bit easier to navigate. Now on the right side, you will see the standards by disciplinary core idea. You can download all of the standards. You can download them or look at them by topic and download them. And then you can review the standards by evidence statements. So let's start with, and I'm going to start with kinder through second grade. And let's look at one of the practices. Now, these, when we look at the practices, the science and engineering practices, there's a lot going on. So I want you to, if you're a parent or an educator, let's focus on the discipline and break it down by physical science, life science, earth and space, or engineering, technology, and applications of science. And pick an area that you focus on, whatever area you focus on. Even though I love biological sciences, I also love physical science. So I'm going to select physical science. Now we can break this down even further by selecting a specific domain of this standard, or we can just select submit. So I'm not going to select a practice. I'm not going to select a cross-cutting concept. I'm going to hit submit, and it will give us some areas that we can look at. So in kinder, it gives the kindergarten physical science of motion and stability. It'll give it to you for first grade for physical science, and it'll go up to, I believe it'll go up to, yeah, it'll go up to second grade. So let's just pick motions and stability for this standard. And whenever you are looking at the state standards, you will get the evidence or the performance expectation first. And this situation, this physical science 2-1 is plan and conduct an investigation to compare the effects of different strengths or differences or different directions of pushes and pulls on the motion of an object. So push and pull, and it'll even give you clarification. Now, of course, it's giving me the science and engineering practices, the disciplinary core ideas, and the cross-cutting concepts. And you can sit here and highlight and copy this standard. However, I do want to show you something else that some educators aren't really aware of. There's something called a related evidence statement. And I did show you the evidence statements on the page before this, before we hit submit or selected anything. When you select this, it's going to give you, automatically will give you a PDF, and you still get that performance expectation. You'll get this S&Ps, the DCIs, and the CCCs, cross-cutting concepts. However, you come down here and you get a little bit more information. I call this the observable features of the student performance by the end of the grade. This is the phenomena that we want students to know by the end of the grade. This is huge. So because we know we want students to know all of this by the end of kindergarten, which seems like a lot, but believe it or not, they can do this. This is where I want to focus. So we're going to go into ChatGPT and we're going to copy this. And then we're going to come back down after we ask it a question and then copy all of this information and throw it in ChatGPT. So give me a moment. Let's jump into ChatGPT or GPT and see what we can do with this standard for kindergarten. This is ChatGPT or Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. I'm going to use this to help us understand this kindergarten standard that we just looked at. Now, I went ahead and selected Control-C to copy or Command-C on a Mac, and now I'm going to select Control-V or Command-V on a Mac to paste so that I have it in here already. So that way you didn't have to wait for me. And now basically what I asked ChatGPT was to describe the physical science standard so that I can explain it to kindergartners. And then I grabbed the standard, and this is that entire standard. It's not perfect, but we're just going to go for it, and I'm just going to hit enter anywhere, actually. So let's see what it says. And it's actually describing it in a voice as if I was describing this to kindergartners, which is, I think it's doing a pretty good job. And I'll throw this part of the prompt into the description. And again, I took this from the Next Generation Science Standards and just asked it to give it to me so that I could explain it to kindergartners. So you could do this as a parent, you could do this as a teacher, and as a principal, you could use this to demonstrate as a professional development strand on how to use ChatGPT to help your teachers that are a little bit nervous on a math standard or a new concept in how to deliver English language arts from a informational text perspective. So look at it. Hello, kindergartners. Today we're going to learn about forces and how they make things move. A force is a push or a pull. This means that if we push or pull something, it will start to move or stop moving. And then you can just, this could be a script that you say to kids. Now, and this is great. Now, I told you that we were going to grab the evidence statement at the very bottom to see what this looks like. And we're going to do it directly in this chat so that we can see how we can explain this to students. So let's try that. I'm still in the same chat. I'm still going to be talking about the physical science standard for the kindergarten grade level that we were working on. And I did go ahead and Control-C and copy what I wanted to do. I also gave this, and I'm going to Control-V and paste it in here so you can see. So this is that entire evidence statement, but I added something at the beginning. And what I did is I said, use the evidence statement below to create a 2-week lesson that is engaging for kindergarten students. So the next part is the observable features, which is exactly what came from the evidence statement on the PDF. So let's just enter it and see what happens. So it's creating a 2-week lesson plan. The investigating the effects of, let's scroll a little bit, of pushes and pulls on an object's motion. Week 1, introduction to forces in motion. Introduce the concepts of force and motion through an interactive story, song, or video. Now, I'm a fan of this because when you create a story, it goes into the long-term memory and there's an emotion created around it. You know whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. If there was an emotion attached to it, you were more likely to learn it. So create an emotional setting. Now, there are a lot of books out there that are discuss and offer pushes and pulls and motion for kindergarten, first, second grade. So you could ask ChatGPT to offer you those books, for example, or offer storylines, and we probably should do that. But look at this. It gives you day 1, day 2, day 3, identifying the purpose of the investigation, day 3, identifying the evidence to address the investigation and purpose, collaboratively develop an investigation to plan within that day 3, day 4, planning the investigation. And you're asking the students to do this, not you planning, the students are planning this. And believe it or not, they're fully capable of doing this. And yes, I know there are products out there that will help you with this. And if you have these products in your classroom that your district has provided for you, you could use this as an enhancement to that, especially if there's no storyline. And I want to go back to this standard for a second. And we will go back and revisit that standard, because in that standard, it gave you a few things on the main page. And actually, I'm going to ask you to go to that main page, and it gives you the mathematical practices, the math practices, or the standards, and the English language art practices that go along with this. So you can actually integrate ELA concepts, mathematic concepts into this investigation, instead of teaching reading and writing in isolation, instead of teaching mathematics in isolation, instead of teaching science in isolation. Think about that and how that can enhance the conversation. So I'm going to go and jump and grab that and continue this so that we can see what happens when we integrate that. So here are those standards that I was talking about for Common Core State Standards. It's giving you some ELA literacy, writing standards, participate in shared research and writing projects, mathematics. This is the mathematical practice, reason abstractly and quantitatively, and then the mathematics standard as well. So now we're looking at describe measurable attributes of objects such as length or weight, because now we're talking about pushes and pull. Maybe the length of it is going to change something, or the weight of it. Describe several measurable attributes of a single object, and describe comparable directly compare two objects with a measurable attribute in common to see which object has more or less of the attribute, and describe the difference. And what that means, that attribute, is there a difference with the push and the pull if the weight feels heavier? Is there a difference in the push and the pull if it's longer? And those are the attributes that it's asking you for. So we're going to copy this and bring it over into ChatGPT and ask it a question. Here we're going to take the standards for mathematical practices, the writing standard that goes alongside this performance expectation for science or physical science, and then we're also going to take the measurement and data standards. And here is what I am asking it to do. Now, I did go ahead and copy this over, but I added this: integrate both the following Common Core standards for writing. And I put the W there is because this is there. If I wanted to be more specific, I could ask it to look at that specific standard. And mathematics, which was measurement and data, and there we have it, MD A1 and MD A2. So let's see if it can figure that out. And then I asked it to, along with the mathematics practices, MP, we call them the standards for mathematical practices. However, this is how they abbreviated it. And then along with the mathematic practices, Common Core State Standards connection. So let's see what happens when we enter this. And it is my hope that it's very integrated, and it will integrate it into the lesson. So objective: students will participate in a shared research writing project by investigating the effects of different strengths and directions of pushes and pulls of the motion of an object, while also, went too far there, while also describing measurable attributes of the object's motion and comparing the attributes of different pushes and pulls. This is pretty fantastic. And because it broke it down for me, introduced the concept of shared research and writing projects, and explained to students that they will be participating in one to investigate the effects of pushes and pulls, provide a variety of books and videos. So this is where, you can do some research on YouTube. You can do, again, finding some books. I believe ChatGPT will probably give us some ideas on books. We go down. Now it's going down to the mathematics before the investigation. Introduce the measurable attributes of an object, motion, and it knows it's looking at measurement here. This is amazing. Using measurement and data, it even found it for us. This standard, students will directly compare the effects of different strengths and directions of pushes and pulls. Here's that. And because the standard was written out, it's being very descriptive, and it even gave us an assessment. Learning shouldn't be a secret. Students should know what standards they're learning, even if you think that they can't academically understand it. Giving them the language of the discipline helps them over time. Tell them what the standard is. Tell them that you're going to be breaking down the standard so that they understand it by the end of the school year. You can revisit this all school year. Your students will be the happiest students ever if you're doing writing along with the learning, along with the math. Math won't feel like it's this thing over there that you do. It'll feel integrated, because when we talk about mathematics in the real world, we use mathematics in general conversation. So why not use it in a concept that's real world and allow them to do this? Because you could create a push in the pool, an object that can be something where maybe it's a skateboard that they build as a classroom. Maybe they're talking about push and pull with a tricycle that you have on the playground. Maybe you have some carts that can go back and forth. Maybe we're talking about a swing. Like when you push the swing, what happens? Or when you pull it, how do you feel when someone's sitting on it compared to when they're not sitting on it? There's so many real world applications that you can do. So let's just ask it. What are some reasonable real world experiences that kindergartners can do at the school site? I'm going to say consider playground equipment. I'm not going to even try to spell that right, even though I know good and well that it should be an R. Let's see. What's thinking? And this is fun. Like there are several reasonable real world experiences that kindergartners can do at the school site using playground equipment. Here are some ideas. Slides. Students that can investigate the effects of different amounts of force on their speed down the slide. They can try down the slide, going down the slide, then faster, and observe how the speeds change. Swing. Students can investigate the effects of different amounts of force on the height of their swing. Now it's going in seesaw. Now this, I'm looking for push and pull. Even though it's giving some other attributes, I'm good with that because that's measurable data, because they can feel the mass or the weight of an object. Climbing, students can investigate the effects of the amount of force in their ability. And now I'm going to say, be specific with push and pull. Because there are some here, but I'm asked push and pull. Students can push a ball along the ground using different amount of force. Pulling a rope. This is what I'm looking for. Tug of war. Students can play a game of tug of war. I don't know that I'm an advocate for that because of kids being harmed, but it's certainly a concept where you could show that video of what, or you can say, let's do this, or you could ask students to pull, and you be very cognizant of that you don't want students to get hurt, but just so they could feel what that looks like, or maybe put it around a tree. Like how would it feel if you put this on a wagon compared to a tree? So think about the safety. You can even say, consider the safety of students. And this is something that, take a standard. I'm giving you homework. Go and grab a standard and grab some of the prompts. I'll grab the beginning prompts and put them in the description so you can grab them. Grab a standard and see what you can find out. I know that it's a lot of work to do this, but imagine how much work it would be if you didn't have ChatGPT. So think about that for a moment. Now, it is my hope that you'll jump into ChatGPT, play around with it, grab a few standards. You can use the Common Core State Standards for ELA, the Core Standards for mathematics, and find out ways you can integrate it with the writing, the reading, the speaking, and the listening, and how you can do some performance tests. So many things. And I know this was a lot to look at. However, if you're a teacher, you're probably, your light bulbs are going off thinking, oh my gosh, I can mitigate some time frames and some constraints that I have because there's so much time in the day, only so much time in the day to get things done. And this can help you with lesson planning. And you read through the lesson plan and you go, no, I think this. Just like when I said, I'm not quite sure about the tug of war, you can tweak it and use it to help guide you as a tool. It's not, you already put in the information. You didn't come up with the state standard. You went and found the state standard and asked ChatGPT as a personal assistant to have a dialogue with you to help you come up with a great lesson plan that would be engaging and fun for your students. So make sure that you subscribe, like the video, and turn on the bell, and please comment. Tell me what you're doing with ChatGPT, with lesson planning, and even if you already have a product that you use, a tangible book or an online program, a product that you use that you would consider curriculum, grab that and ask ChatGPT, well, using this curriculum, how would this help me? And maybe grab a blurb if you can copy it from the book and throw it in there. But remember, the state standards are considered the curriculum that all students should master by the end of the school year. The product that you buy is a tool and or support that will help you help your students master the standards. Thank you so much for watching.